Welcome to Master Domaining. I'm Gene Pimentel, and in this session, I will cover the important information about the life cycle of a domain name. This is an important aspect of domaining that anybody who sells domains must know, and that's the life cycle of a domain name. All domain names begin as being available, of course, and when you register it, you can register for a period of 1 to 10 years. At the end of the term, whether it's 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years, or whatever the number of years you pay to have it registered, the domain name will expire unless you renew it. That's why all your important domains should be set to auto-renew to help prevent an expiration from occurring. Every registrar has this auto-renew feature available to you. But as for domains that we're flipping, this is not so much a concern because typically we don't register the domain for more than 1 year, and we strive to sell the domain before the year is up. But the domain lifecycle is much more important to understand when you have domains that are vital to your business that you never want to lose by some silly mistake. The domain lifecycle is also important to fully understand when you're trying to catch a domain that someone else is allowing to drop, whether intentionally or not. Here's what happens when a domain reaches the initial expiration date. When a domain expires, that doesn't mean it becomes available to someone else, at least right away. In fact, from the time a domain expires to the time it gets put back into public circulation, it's about 80 days. First, upon expiration, the domain enters a 30 to 45-day grace period. During this grace period, the owner still is able to renew it and get the domain back at the regular registration cost. But if the domain owner lets it go beyond the grace period, it goes into redemption period for another 30 days. During this redemption period, the domain owner can usually still get the domain back, but at a much higher cost determined by the registrar. This is often several $100s. So far, that's a total of up to 75 days. Once the redemption period is over, the expired domain enters the last 5 days of its life cycle called pending delete. When you look up the whois data on a domain name and it says pending delete in the record, you know that it's within 5 days of being available to the public once again. Once the 5 days are up, the domain is released to the public and anyone can register it. So remember, from the time a domain expires in your account to the time it becomes available to the public to register, it's about 80 days depending on the registrar. Keep that in mind as you're buying and selling domain names. Most registrars are really good about notifying you about the status of your domain name so you don't lose it. They'll send emails to keep reminding you. If the expiring domain is of interest to others and it is allowed to drop, it will likely be snagged by one of the big drop catch services, who then sell it to the highest bidder. I'll cover these drop catching services in another session.